Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss a video from testbook.com.
So, hello everyone. Hope you all are doing well. I myself, Sarthak Arora. It's my privilege to address you all on the behalf of Textbook. As you know, nowadays IT industry is expanding or getting advanced day by day, getting good salaries, perks, and because of this, a number of students want to pursue their career in IT industry as a programmer, basically. So I think to become a good programmer, a student must be aware with the programming language. So in this session, today we are going to discuss, or you can say to take some tips or tricks about a Python. Python, which is very in language like nowadays, so-called programming language. So let me introduce our guest, Mr. Saketh Gangam. Hello, sir. How are you? Welcome you all in this show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm good.
Yes, yes,
How are
sir.
you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Fine. Everything is fine, sir. So let me introduce you, sir. So Mr. Saketh is currently working as a data analyst at Ernst and Young EY. He did his graduation in computer science engineering from BML Munjal University. He likes to innovate, design, and improve software applications. Today, Mr. Saketh sir, will tell us some Python tips or tricks to understand and writing better code to be a best coder, or you can say a programmer. So, like the main programming language is today Python. We'll discuss about the Python. Before we start, first of all, I would like to ask from sir to describe your journey so far.
Okay. So, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for that, Satak sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah, I've been a graduate since like 2 years. Like, I've been graduated in computer science, BTech in computer science from BML Manjal University.
Yeah.
So, I did my computer science engineering degree from BML Munjal University, and then got an internship at Ernst and Young EY, where I started my journey as a trainee. Then I moved on to the a data analyst position, and hence what I've been working with EY, and it's been amazing working at EY as a data analyst. Yeah. So in short, yeah, that's my journey so far.
So, sir, please tell us, like in this journey, somewhere Python was there in your like in your journey, and if it is there, like if it was there, so how it has been a part of it.
So since the college days, so if you remember, if you see the articles in the and if you go back in time and just see the articles, 2015 was the best time for data science and its applications. So Python is when you say data science and application or artificial intelligence and its related fields like machine learning and neural networks and natural language processing, all these would definitely involve one thing. So all these things have one thing in common, that is Python programming language, because it has extensive support to work with or to create applications in these sectors, and there are many beautiful things you can do with Python. So yeah, so that's how the trend has been in the in 2015s. It has plummeted. The growth has hit so much, and the applications in data science and NLP, natural language processing, were on rise. And yeah, so there was a so all the news was about Python, and Python still is the lead in data science and applications and other fields of artificial intelligence. So yeah, I started my journey in Python in since college days. I've took these courses, natural language processing and information retrieval, machine learning. So yeah, so Python has been the significant factor in my growth and success and my journey so far. So throughout my 4 years of college degree and then 2 years of working with EY, so overall 6 years. So it's majorly I can say Python is my everyday go-to programming language, and it's my bread and butter. So yeah, so that's how Python is involved in my journey
Right.
so far. Yeah,
It's a kind of a shadow, like in your journey. Eh? You are walking and the Python is moving with you.
definitely,
So that's great.
definitely.
In this case, sir, I just want to ask one thing. So, in fact, this is for the beginners, so for the freshers, basically. Generally,
Right,
everyone, and number of times, in fact, we heard about Python. It is implemented in AI, artificial intelligence, or machine learning. It is implemented. So,
right.
sir, in simple language, if we say like these are the very tough, or you can say, matlab, not tough, very hard word to like when we
Yeah,
hear it, ki machine learning or artificial intelligence. Okay,
yeah.
but for the beginners, how we can explain them ki what Python is in a simple way, like how they can do if they want to make some kind of career in this.
Okay, so Python is nothing but it's a high-level interpreted programming language, you can say. So what I mean by that is it's just a way to interact to or talk to the machine. So earlier people used to like use the lower level programming languages like C and C++ or others which are much older like COBOL or Pascal. But Python has extensive support to do these it has all this extensive support in terms of libraries and capabilities. So yeah, so Python is high level and it has support built in to you don't need to actually worry about implementation, and abstracts all the implementation of hard mathematics which goes into machine learning or NLP or any other modern day technologies you use. So Python is because it is so much supported and loved by the community. It has such a good extensive library support, and you can actually build whatever the applications you are dreaming to build, or you can uh, you know think of any application and you can build that in Python. So yeah, so because of that extensive support, it basically differs from other lower level programming languages.
So, sir, like if you like I said a lot of things about Python. So there is a one question which comes in mind. Ki, like for the beginners, so is that necessarily ki a student must be aware with the C or C++ or any other programming language
Okay,
before if he or she start Python?
okay, that's a good question. So many of us from who has the formal computer science education, they might not start their journey with Python. They might learn C or C++ or any other language which are taught in the curriculum. So Python is so easy to learn, so beginner friendly, that has it that's why it has mass scale adaptation, and many people are moving towards Python because of that. It is very friendly and it is very easy to use. Even school students and college students or 11th and 12th students, everybody are able to learn it so fast and quick, and they're also having very much fun with it. So even my nephew, my cousin, which is who is still in school, they are loving it. They try building very basic applications like not applications but programs like the temp Fahrenheit conversion, or very basic programs. They're just understanding how it works, and they're having fun with it. So it is very beginner friendly, and anybody, if they have time and motivation, they can easily get started with Python. That's what I would say.
So
Yeah,
means we can say like a person, a student, if he was not having computer science or Python or any other programming background in school or in college, so like after passing on the college, he or she can go for Python. It can be learned. Like
definitely, definitely. I've seen many people doing that. It's not mandatory to have some exposure to programming at all if you want to start with Python, uh, because it's very beginner friendly, and it's so easy to adapt and use it. You'll love it. So yeah, yeah, that's very beginner friendly. That's what the takeaway, I would say.
So there is one more thing. Like I have seen, like if a student is doing Python and they are doing in a normal way, I'll not say in a very excellent way. I'll not say in a very slow motion. But he or she, anyone is doing Python, like if they are learning a Python. So like how he or she can improve their skills in Python programming language. Like this is always a question in students' mind. कि, sir, how we can learn how like logic एक नाम का like जिसको हम बोलते हैं कि how they can implement the logic, how they can improve their skills while
Okay,
learning, while
right.
learning.
Okay, while learning Python or any other programming language, basically you need a structure, right? So the way you learn things, you just need a structure, and you should be organized in your learning. And there are numerous resources across the internet. You can just get started with the beginner level programming, and if you are an intermediate level programmer, you can always seek help from the community. There are very beautiful resources online, like there is Stack Overflow, the best community. While if you are stuck with some error, you can just Google it, and it's just a Google away. The help is always there, the support is there, and you have many communities like Geeks for Geeks or any other. So if you get stuck, you should learn to seek help. So it's not just these communities, there are numerous others. I'm just giving an example to name them. Yeah, so you should try to seek help from them, and you should always look for yeah, the next step. You should always try to build stuff, even though if you try and fail, I would say. So yeah, that's how you get started with or improve Python, because in the beginner days everybody uh, starts to think it's very overwhelming. In the beginning, like even to get started with your setup and write your first code, you might face many difficulties, because that's how things work. Like you try it and you fail it, and then you try again. So yeah, so the first step would be to learn to seek help, and there are numerous resources. And yeah, that's what I say, like when you try and fail and then repeat that, so that's how you improve, and that's how you improve any language, not just Python. Yeah,
Okay, it's good, sir. In fact, I think it's very easy to understand. Like anyone can do this. No background is required and no limitation, and I think no age bar and no. Doesn't matter you have done in school or in college or like anytime you can start it.
definitely.
So one more question comes here, sir. If like student starts learning Python, maybe let's say after graduation or something else like after post graduation, in between somewhere. So how much time does it take to become for a student? If like when he thinks himself, now I am a programmer. How much time if I will go for the particular Python? So how much time he or she will take to be a programmer?
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I don't think it would take much time to actually believe that you could program or code, especially when you are using something like Python to help you in that, because Python is, as I said number of times now, it is very beginner friendly, and once you start using it, I mean, you don't feel like something is going wrong, or so it's just that, like once you get started with it, you'll feel it from the beginning. But uh, yeah, so there is a chance or possibility to feel like you're not good at it, or you're not doing well. So there is always that feeling with all of us. So there is also always a room of improvement. But yeah, I would say it shouldn't take much time to get started and begin coding. I would say uh, if I need to put a time for that, I would say anywhere between 1 month or 45 days is it's enough to start to get that confidence and to build that confidence and go with it. That's a good amount of time to build your Python skills and get started with Python or any programming languages in general. Uh,
Like, but the possibilities are also there after graduation if anyone go for Python or programming language, like
Definitely.
for the job opportunities and all, like the maximum possibilities are there.
Yes, I've seen people who uh, who learn Python in 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and landed in some good opportunities after graduation as well.
So it is possible for like any one of them to learn Python within like a few of weeks or month or 1.5 months, like, or
Yeah.
a few of people can like are able to learn within this span of time.
I would
Okay.
say I would, so if I need to generalize, I would say 45 days is like the very good time to get pick up in Python and just feel like you have achieved something. 45 days is good amount of time, I believe. But yeah, I can go beyond that as well based on your interest and the domain you are looking for. But in general, Python programming is pretty easy, and you can get started and feel the sense of achievement in very less time.
Okay, that's great, sir. And okay, maybe like most of the students or like listeners are, they just want to know about the Python. It's okay, they know very well it's a programming language. If they do it, and they'll become a programmer. So, like, what kind of applications they can make after learning the Python when they will implement in industry? So, what kind of applications they can make, like by using the Python, so
Okay,
that they can focus on the learning part also.
right.
That's right.
Yeah. So there are numerous applications you can have once you learn Python. So it's implemented in every sector you can think of, like banking. You have e-commerce. You can think of scientific and research field. You can think of any field, and th- there has to have a Python application there, because even the self-driving car you see nowadays, there is Python involved in it, because it uses artificial intelligence techniques like natural language processing and you know uh, object detection, which is part of computer vision. So any field you can think of has some application to it, and Python has definitely written in into that logic that has been going around. So you'd be surprised to know, like, is in Israel there is an intelligence agency called Mossad, right? So they track Iran's nuclear program using Python. So it's very fascinating, and yeah, so Python is just a tool you can use and build whatever you want to, and it has many applications in software and beyond. Yeah.
In fact, I know like Python is implementing nowadays in a very big companies. So,
Right.
could you just put some highlight on the companies, like the areas where Python is using nowadays?
Okay, so you can build, so to get started with, like, you can build many software applications, like the mobile apps you see and the websites you see. So those are built in Python, especially the backend, if you say, and so how generally how all the forms get populated, or how you navigate from one page to other, how the functionality itself is working. So you can have many applications, like web-based applications and mobile-based application. It could be ranging from healthcare application to anything you can think of, like the basic application you see now, Khata book, as a a ledger notes, where you can put in your uh, uh, you can track money, right? Whom you're lending and whom you're receiving money from. So every application you can think of, you can actually build in Python. So they have very good frameworks like Django and Flask. So using that, you can actually build any web application and mobile application, uh, and much more. So if you say just the logic, if you want to build, like, if you want to build a chatbot. Let's say there's a chatbot, you can build that in Python, right?
Oh,
So if you want to convert some text is there, and you want to convert that to speech, right? So there is a letter, you want to convert that to sound, right? So that we can hear. So that you can do with Python.
we
And
can say all of these things are the part of AI, kind of,
yeah,
or
so
something is different.
right. So yeah, you can actually say that, because AI is a massive field, and there are many applications within it. So yeah, so these are basically somewhat related to AI, text to speech conversion, and yeah,
Face recognition, something we
yeah,
can say. Huh?
right, face recognition and
This one,
object detection.
yeah.
Yeah, so all these things you can actually do with Python, definitely.
Uh, and so, if there are few of companies, if you name them, like where Python is using, like the companies who Python is using nowadays, what they are
Okay, so
implementing, like
um so every company, like you might know, will be using Python in some other form, right? So Facebook, Google, Microsoft,
Facebook, Google, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
In fact,
all
I
these
think
functions. Yeah,
I heard about it. कि in fact, ये stock exchange जो हमारा है, और in fact Mumbai में भी, और and
correct.
NASA is also using all of many of the applications about the
Definitely.
Python. I think.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
fact, a few days back, I was reading. I think ये Instagram के अंदर भी like the many of the जो जैसे you told us about Facebook also. Many of the
right.
social sites, like
Yeah,
your network, they're using all that stuff.
yeah,
Okay, that's great, sir. So, sir, like, can you give us a few of tips, or you can say a tricks in a Python to make it easier? I know this is again asking, I'm repeating my question in a different way. So
yeah.
basically, like a few of tips or tricks,
Okay,
so that everyone can like take like जिसको बोलते हैं interest के
right.
साथ can do the things or can fulfill their
Yeah.
जो भी
So,
करियर का है.
definitely.
Yeah.
So first thing would be, I would say, don't lose motivation. So whenever you start to learn a new thing, something like programming, and that too in Python, so I would say, you should not lose motivation. You can try and seek help, as I said before. But most importantly, you need to try, and if you fail, and then again you seek help and try. But sometimes syntax of the code, it must be like a new thing for you, and you might not like the white space that Python checks, and there might be many errors like that. So it takes some time to get used to the syntax. But yeah, you don't should not lose the motivation of, whenever you start with programming in Python. um, but generally, once you are over that stage, once you're familiar with the syntax, and you're comfortable using the, at least how to get started and beginner level programs, I would say you need to learn how to structure your code, right? uh, you can say, like, first step, this should be the activity that needs to be performed. Let's say, like, you are building simple calculator in Python, right? That's how you get started with beginner level programs, right? So when you build a calculator, you want to build an operation first. So if you're taking addition, so there's a number one and number two, and then you just returning the result of it, you are printing the result of the addition of these two. Then you move on to a different operation, like multiplication, division, and then subtraction of all these basic operations. Once you're done with it, you move on to higher level scientific calculations. So that's how you build the logic on, like, you don't need to build right away a super logic, but simply, I would say, structure your code better, to in order to make it more sensible, and also more readable. So yeah, so when you structure your program from a hierarchy wise, I would say, you're also making it more readable, and more easier to understand when you look back, or when you try to fix something in the code. So that is one thing. So also try to use more comments in your code. Put some comments, why are you doing this especially. So sometimes we forget to use comments, and then when we come back and look the code, and we are absolutely have no clue of why we did that in first place. So just put a comment which makes more sense, and use more readable variable names. And in terms of naming convention, I would say you should use something which makes more sense actually, rather than using some XYZ variables, or uh, just put something meaningful so that you can relate back when you come back. Oh, this is the variable doing this. So naming convention is something which is very important, and there are extensive Python rules. When you deal with linting, and there's a there's a whole format rules that are written in Web 8 standard. So you can actually look at that, and you'll understand how and why naming convention is so important. But yeah, so you don't need to think of all this as a beginner, but when you move to an intermediate level, so these all things will definitely help you to become a good programmer. So yeah, commenting and documentation, that's what is important. Yeah, so once you are moving through the ladder of expertise, you might also learn or see how, or what are the best practices that people are using, and you can learn and implement them in your code, and you'll definitely see that recognition very quickly. So yeah, so there are always best practices that go on in the industry and academia. So you can actually look up what are the best practices, and you can learn and implement them while you're coding. So again, as a beginner, you don't need to worry of all of this. But yeah, once you move on to the intermediate level, or once you get comfortable with coding, and especially coding in Python programming, so you can look at the best practices, I would say. And you can always ask why especially how this logic is implemented, and why is it implemented that way. You can always dig deep and dig why a specific thing is implemented in a specific way, right? There's an extensive documentation that might available on the internet, and you can learn each library how it's done. So there is very good support for Python. As I said before, you can actually look up anything you don't understand, and then you can learn. So that's how you feel more confident of what you're writing and why you're writing. So I would say look up the documentation uh, first of all, to understand the inner implementation of a specific thing, right? So these all things help you, to write a better Python code. And also, yeah, once you gain more confidence, then you can also contribute back to the community, right? So you can actually answer someone else's code, someone else's questions, and you can also be improving in that way, in that sense, right? Like now I'm delivering this talk. 6 years back, I am definitely not a position in any position to deliver this talk, or uh, come forward and explain my story, right? So once you are confident, and yeah, you understand how things work, you just come back to the community and provide your thoughts and your learnings, right? So that's how you also improve. And yeah, so uh, at the end, I would say you can improve definitely by building your own projects and programs, right? So once you plan on to build something you imagine would exist, like uh, it might be very small or it might be big. If you plan on to build something, and then you can learn a lot. So yeah, so you could start from beginning, and you can see how it grows, and what all the things that it involves, and where could it fail, and you can fix and come back. So a personal project, I would say, you can start with a personal project and understand each and every minute thing that goes into the implementation and actually learn from it. So yeah, learn by doing is the ultimate thing, I would say.
That means ki, like you are saying ki a student would more or more focus on the practical part, on the
Yes,
syntax and the coding and part everything. So
definitely.
it's improved automatically all the logics and concepts of like
Exactly.
student or programmer itself. That
Yeah.
it's a lot of information like you have given us. It's a very great, sir. Thank you very much. In fact, one more thing, in fact, I would like to ask here, sir. Like at the end, like you have already told us a number of things, but what कि वो पेट नहीं भरता. We always like कि हमें कुछ और सुनने को मिले और समझने को मिले. So like if any particular advice if you want to give us to our listeners regarding like or programming language or the word Python, like why and how and when, and finally in like in short, in summarized way, what you can give them an advice about all of such people like who want to learn language.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, if you have a laptop and if you are trying to
Yeah, exactly, requirement too. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so once you have a laptop and you are thinking of learning Python, so
Yeah.
first step would be, and it's most important to set the environment first, right? So you need
Okay.
some Python support to write some Python code. So you need to install Python, and that takes a lot of time actually in the initial stages, right? So setting up the environment gives you the first step, uh, that is required, right? So you need to install Python. You can use an IDE. I prefer PyCharm. PyCharm is an IDE.
Yeah,
It's
Python is a
very
very
good.
good idea. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, so you can download that IDE and you can start your coding from there. So that's how I would suggest anyone to start their coding. Then yeah, what's the second question you have in this?
Yeah, this is what the requirement and a few of the things like basic suggestion from your side, a basic suggestion to
Right.
learn, yeah, to learn the
So
Python.
yeah, they can start like writing very basic codes. There might be it might not take much time, like even simple hello world. You can start with hello world program and then move on to anything like calculator application or uh, you know uh, any application you can, or any little program, swapping variables, or very minute things they can start with, so that they can understand and get comfortable with the syntax, so that
Mean
gives
to say
them.
like the very first basic thing to we get familiar with the syntax of Python, the grammar
Right.
word, with the
Yeah.
basic questions and all, and logics
Right.
and all. Okay.
Yeah, so there is structural and decision making statements that we have, right? If else, and you have loops, for loops and while loops. You have basic data structures like arrays, lists, right? So it might be overwhelming just to explain all this, but yeah, it is very basic, and you can get started with
All of
these
such
things.
things, I'm sorry, sir, but like all of such things like you told us about a few of topics like loops and list and arrays and maybe some dictionary and tuples are also there, or file
Right.
handling and all. So I would just want to ask one thing like ये इनका कहीं does it help us in our industry में कहीं का हमारा मतलब कि हमें हेल्प होती है कि हाँ जो हमने सीखा अपने स्टूडेंट टाइम पे एंड नाउ we are getting a lot of benefits, all of that stuff in industry while doing
Definitely.
a job, while doing a job.
Yeah, definitely. So these all things, once you go to industry, so you
Yeah.
are expected to know all this, and nobody expects that not knowing all of this, because these are basic things that go into everyday coding. So you are expected to know all the uh, basic data structures and basic syntax and implementation of Python language. So yeah, this definitely helps you in every day. Yeah, and it is a must. It's like a foundation that you're building, to actually create some meaningful full applications and to actually build something which is in real world, and it is making more sense, and it has some uh, you know work to it, right? So like you said, stock market prediction, or forecasting, like financial forecasting people do that, they have very much good support. They use Python to do that. So there you have very high level concepts and mathematics involved. So yeah, so learning how all these basic data structures and how basic program works, so definitely is a relief to learn all this beforehand, in order to jump in and build something like forecasting or some prediction of prices of stock market. So yeah, so these are all basic things you can get started with. So tuples, loops,
Yeah.
arrays, and
Dictionary and like file handling, data structure, and all such stuff. I think
right,
we cover.
exactly, yeah,
Good. It's a benefit. मतलब हमें रहते हैं advantages. We implement all such part in industries also.
right,
Yeah. So, sir, really, this is very good information like which you have given us, and I think this is sufficient information we have got from you, sir, and it will be useful for our listeners also. Like they'll be able to fix their target if they want to pursue their career. I think so, like in a programmer, as a programmer. So, thank you, everyone, like who made this session possible. Thank you very much to all, and we'll meet you again tomorrow in another session of Rice Professional Skills Conclave. And sir, Saketh, sir, I'm really very much thankful to you also for giving us a beneficial information about Python, and I believe it definitely helps students to pursue their career. And
definitely.
otherwise, test book is always there for the help of students to achieve their goals in the field of programming language. Okay, done. Thank you very much. All the best. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
With all this, we just wind up that session and meet you by tomorrow in another session.
Thank
That's
you.
all, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Bye.